Question number 10, Phil Twyford.
Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Finance. What has convinced him to announce a government-backed building program to build medium-density housing using economies of scale to drive down costs? And why is it now a priority after 8 years in government?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the member's wrong. The government did not need to be convinced. Since the day we took office in 2008, we've been working on the Tamaki redevelopment program, which will deliver 7,500 houses to the Auckland market in the coming years. Well, the member should ask Mr. Pat Snedden about the meetings that were held at that time. We started working on a government-backed building program. Well, no, the member should listen. In February 2011, for the member's information, a large earthquake hit Christchurch, which required a government-backed building program to build 700 new houses and repair 5,000 Housing New Zealand houses in Christchurch. And of course, since then, we've accelerated the work at Hobsonville. Now that we have the new Auckland Unitary Plan, the member's starting to take notice of the large-scale government building programs that have been going on through the last 8 years.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Can he confirm that the compelling new information that shows that his housing policies have failed completely and that his housing crisis is spinning out of control was provided by that well-respected housing policy think tank, Curia Research?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, absolutely not. As I've pointed out to the member, he may not have done his homework, but a number of large-scale programs have been underway. In fact, I invite the Minister to visit Christchurch to see the 700 new Housing New Zealand houses that were built and the 5,000 repairs. I invite him to visit Hobsonville. I invite him to visit Tamaki, which is out in the market right now, procuring large-scale developers so that 7,500 houses can be built there, and we've only just got started.
Order. Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why is he refusing to guarantee that all the new houses he now promises to build will be for first home buyers and Kiwi families and not for property speculators, or is he still on the side of the speculators?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it shows the member fundamentally misunderstands housing markets. The fact is that government now, under the Auckland Unitary Plan, the government owns sufficient land already in Auckland to now build another 30,000 houses. They won't be. They will be a mixture of houses sold to the market, medium-priced houses that first home buyers or lower income families that can afford, but most importantly, social housing, because the government is responsible for meeting growing demand for social housing in Auckland. And we'll make those decisions as we go.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
How many of his promised, and I quote, maybe 30,000 homes in Auckland over the next maybe 7, 8, 9 or maybe 10 years, unquote, to make up for the deficit of 42,000 homes in Auckland built up on his watch? Or are they in addition to the 42,000 homes he's already running behind on delivering?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not exactly sure what the member means, but I can tell him this. It's only in the last couple of months that it's now become legally possible to build at the scale that I've indicated. Well, because the Auckland Unitary Plan, previous Auckland plans in which that member participated, prevented the building of the number of houses Auckland needed. Now it's going to be possible, and that is a major achievement on behalf of Dr. Nick Smith and the Auckland City Council.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would he agree that with his track record of flogging off state houses pensioners living in campgrounds, property speculators running riot, his so-called building boom delivering 18 affordable homes in 3 years, that the public are likely to see his latest musings for what they are, another poll-driven diversion from his failed housing policy.
The Honourable Bill English.
Now, Mr Speaker, I can understand the member's concern that the government's policy for social housing is now so popular we can't meet the demand for changes and for transfers and for better services. And I can also understand the member's concern that the size of the government's rebuilding program has become apparent even to him, and that's not going to help him politically.
Question.